This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host.
For me, I thought it was weird. Not weird, but I was like, Tom Cruise at a Taylor Swift concert. It's rare that Tom Cruise is ever at an event where he's not the biggest person in the room.
It's a big step for him to... Sirens on our end.
Sirens on our end. Straight away.
Straight away.
Straight away. Beginning of the episode. Here we go.
It's like it's fixed.
Yeah.
It's like we're
they
trying
know.
to cultivate.
The police are waiting for us to hit record. They go.
It's just Talia in the other room pressing a siren button. No, it is strange. He's not someone to be as Tom Cruise public for something not to do with Tom Cruise. Yeah. It's very weird.
And as spectators, it's sort of like, yes, he'll go to...
I was saying Wimbledon is the only thing you'll see him
yes, but also like Wimbledon's not about an individual and you're up in a podium looking down, right?
And I'd say the golden circle of Wimbledon actually transcends watching the tennis. It's like a status symbol of like the highest of Hollywood, David Beckham, the Royals. It's a super inner circle.
And you sit there in your linen suit and your amazing sunglasses and you get papped and it's an amazing
You get cut
PR
to every 3 games.
And that's Tom Cruise there in the
Bradley Cooper
spectators
and
box.
Gerard Butler.
Yes.
Do you remember them when Andy Murray won Wimbledon?
Like
I think they were there.
Everyone always looks fantastic.
Fantastic.
But in a Taylor Swift thing, it's like it's not an event, it's actually a person. It's like Taylor Swift is the big name.
I, Tom Cruise, advocate publicly. I prove this message.
I'm relegating myself to spectator. And it was just quite weird to see him in like a marquee, a tent, basically, with Travis Kelce behind him being like, and Christopher McQuarrie is the director of Mission Impossible.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Andrew Scott were hanging out together. Best pals, of course they are.
Paul McCartney there. I mean, great.
You just love. It's the kind of thing you love to see them together.
Love it.
Of course they're friends.
So they don't, it's like, do they pay for those tickets, or is it like?
Well, Phoebe Waller-Bridge was in a Harry Styles music video.
Connection to Taylor Swift, how?
So I'm confused. I saw a clip where they ran for the song Styles.
No.
Which is about Harry Styles.
So Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Andrew Scott were at the Taylor Swift concert, correct?
And I
thought they ran for the intro of 1989. Or the intro of Shake It Off.
I thought it was Style.
Is there a song called Style?
Is there a song called Style?
I don't know. I'm not a
You've
Swiftie.
got that James Dean Daydream.
But okay, but they were there. But back to my question.
Yeah.
Do they pay for those tickets, or is it like the value is you being there, and the fact that people like us will then talk about this show?
You got to wonder about the pool of tickets left for the PR and the sort of the brands and the agents. But Taylor Swift doesn't need to invite famous people to her concert.
But like having the cream of this is the cream of the crop. Getting Tom Cruise and Paul McCartney in a booth. Right there at your concert. What a moment for like the royalty of celebrities to kiss the ring.
Taylor Swift was always big, right? She was always big.
But now she's the biggest
She
celebrity
knows
on the planet.
Kanye thing. She released albums, and in the last 2 years,
more I'd say maybe last. I think sort of since Folklore onwards.
I just think it's a bit
well, she's successfully built her own myth about her relationships into her work.
I don't get it personally. I know I've just lost so many of our fans.
You can have your own opinion. And
I'm
not very versed with her song. I like a couple of her songs.
I've really tried.
But it's
people
more
talk
that
about it.
We can't sit here and say that she's overrated or anything because the testimony.
I think she's the most overrated music artist out right now.
But we can't say that.
I know.
She can't because look at the evidence.
I listened to
the biggest celebrity on the planet.
I listened to it and people are like, oh my God, and this.
It means
and
a lot to a lot of people.
it's not like I haven't tried. I've really gone,
Your other half is, Talia is a massive Swiftie.
My girlfriend's went to the Eras tour 3 times.
So I'm not here to talk about.
Yeah, I don't want to
criticize.
I'm scared. It's like
not
at
all.
The reaction I get when I'm like not in love with her is really
my girlfriend used to be like that, and now Anna is like complete. It's like she's been converted to a cult.
Yeah.
She came back, was in the Eras tour. She was like, I love emo time, emo from the mummy.
Yeah,
she's like that.
Exactly
She goes back. She's like, I love Taylor Swift now. I think my favorite album might be this.
Which is there pretending, trying not to get eaten by him, if you say so.
Welcome to episode 134 of Pulp Kitchen. If you're new, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back.
We just watched the trailer for Nosferatu.
Robert Eggers is Nosferatu. We love Robert Eggers.
Lily Rose Depp.
Looks creepy.
Nicholas Hoult. I thought it was a good trailer. It showed just not enough, which is what I like.
Didn't show Nosferatu.
Thankfully, I think maybe in shadow.
I really hope they keep the creature design
true to thing.
And also, who is playing Nosferatu? Is it Patterson? Is it Ron Patterson?
I can't remember anymore.
I can't remember. We should have looked it up before we clicked record, but we just wanted to do this.
You know what? It doesn't matter because I trust in the cast and I trust in Eggers. We already had those like screechy violins, like
the hysterical,
horrible, gaspy vocals.
Shadows,
so many shadows. The black hand, was that a black hand reaching over?
I think it was the shadow of a hand.
Yeah.
Oh, the black hand reaching over the London.
Over the London, like a sort of dark thing. That's what I saw it as. Can't wait. Don't want to see any more trailers.
A film that really we liked, but really is just vanished is The Northman. Do you remember that?
It's totally vanished.
I don't even see clips on TikTok of people like, look at this scene. And that was
it reviewed well.
It was
and it was a good film. Intense and sort
very
of dense.
violent.
Really
very
violent. But I thought that was really impactful.
Yeah.
You know what I think should be a
bombed, that's why, absolutely bombed.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not palatable to a lot of people, I don't think. Have a long, guttural cinema experience. You know what I'd love to have as a regular thing on every single episode of Pulp Kitchen? One of us has to bring a film that people have just completely forgotten about to the other. It's like, do you remember the film? And you just say like Tomorrowland, but like equivalent. We just talk about, and it's like today's film that no one talks about anymore.
Even if it's just us going, oh
yes. And I just think we should just do
Cold
that.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I did that in a film opposite, so it was like Warm Valley. And it was like Cold Mountain.
Speaking of things that might not be palatable to massive audiences, we'll be reviewing Kinds of Kindness today, which is the second film in a year from Yorgos Lanthimos off the back of Poor Things. And you'll know if you listen to our double take this year, if you are a Patreon member, you have exclusive access to our episodes of Double Take. We talked about many things. One thing we talked about is directors who have released 2 films in the space of 12 months.
Yes.
We also talked about House of the Dragon and the casting around that, about the ages of the actors. Also talked about how Once Upon a Time in Hollywood predicted the future of Hollywood.
Talking about that, guys, and if you subscribe to us on that take, you get access to all the old episodes of Double Take. So every single week, that just continues to increase in value. Posting behind the scenes of all the shenanigans we get up to at different screenings and premieres.
Very exciting. You have access to the Discord. And again, thanks as ever to our producers, Aidan and Finn, for supporting us. And we appreciate it terrifically. But before we get on with the reviews, we have some very exciting news. An announcement for all our sirens. Ladies and gentlemen, this year we will be doing another Pulp Kitchen pub quiz.
It's back. I was channeling Vince Vaughn. It's wedding season.
It's here.
We're doing it. Bigger.
Better.
So last time I absolutely loved the quiz. It was fantastic.
Wonderful.
It was sort of a kind of like a small scale not last minute, but it was like, what can we do to celebrate 100 episodes?
Yeah.
And it was such a great shout for us. Obviously, like trivia is how so many people find Pulp Kitchen. And I just thought it was brilliant. We both did. We got to spend like hours with all of you guys. I genuinely think I shook hands and said hello to almost all of you there. And I just think we should go again.
And here we are. So we're going to be doing 2 nights this summer on the 31st of July and the 1st of August. That's a Wednesday and a Thursday. We'll be doing
2 nights
at the Flamingo Room, which is in Wardour Street in central London. We'll be doing it for 2 nights, and we'll be putting out all the information on our feed, so look out for the links. But tickets will be going on sale next week. But there's a very important caveat. Tickets will be going on general sale next Wednesday, but if you are a Patreon member, you will have early access to buy tickets 48 hours in advance. So the tickets for Patreon members will be going on sale on Monday, but tickets on general sale will be going on sale on Wednesday.
Last year, the tickets sold out, amazingly for us, in less than 16 hours, which is fantastic. But we did hear from you guys when you said, love that, but can you let us know when the tickets go on sale? So if we want to buy tickets, you can. We totally hear you. We're going to do that. If you want to make sure you can get early access to tickets, the best thing to do is to subscribe to our Patreon, where you will get access to buy tickets early. So do that if you want to get the tickets.
So that's next Monday the 1st if you're a Patreon member, and next Wednesday the 3rd of July if you are a regular general member of the public, which is absolutely great.
And as always, it will be a film quiz. We will be hosting
Absolutely.
it. We will design it ourselves completely.
It's going to be interactive. We're going to bring in a bit of tech, bit of music. It's going to be really exciting. It's a bigger space as well.
There'll be questions on the table to do throughout the night. We are going to have prizes. We'll be walking around. We'll still be walking around talking to you. It's when when certain comedians and actors go into the twilight of their career, and it's like an evening with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
An evening with Sir Ian McKellen. It's an evening with me and George, except we're not
sunsetting our careers just yet. So please come along. We'd really love to have you there, guys. It's going to be so exciting. We can't wait to get started. It's not celebrating any episode anniversary or anything like that. No. We just really want to do it again because it was so much fun. The football will be over. Yeah. All the stuff with the election done. Let's just have a summertime now.
We've just been talking about doing another quiz since the quiz. Yeah. We're like, let's do more. Let's do 2 nights. Can't wait. We're so excited.
We're in.
Wednesday next week, Monday for patrons.
So stay tuned for that and be across all our socials for all the further information and details. But anyway, that's coming up in this summer and that's next week. But for now, let's get on with our review of Kinds of Kindness. This is a quick message brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb.
So, George, a good friend of mine who I used to work with in telly is going to work on a famous reality TV show in Marbella for 2 one-week periods.
I think I know the one.
It's very exciting. She's very much looking forward to it. And I told her she should host her flat on Airbnb while she's away.
Yeah, brilliant, of course.
Just makes sense. Like, while you're working away, set up on Airbnb, make a little bit of extra cash while you're there. Perfect, no-brainer.
I know, and also like quite a nice feeling to have when you come back from an actual work trip to have a little bit of extra pocket money to put towards your actual holiday. Like an actual holiday.
Absolutely.
Oh, very smart.
Yeah.
I think people forget that we've all stayed in Airbnbs, like we've all done it, but I think we forget that the people who host Airbnbs are just people like us. You can do it yourself.
I've got a couple of holidays coming up and I was looking at what other flats in my area are going for and I thought I should just do this. It makes sense, especially if you do those little work trips, you go on these little breaks away, you go, hang on, I can host my flat on Airbnb. Boom, perfect.
Also, your home is there. You're going to be away, but your home is still there. You might as well use it. If you have a home, you have an Airbnb.
Totally. If you haven't thought about it, you should look into it. And guys, your home might actually be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host. So, George, last night we went back to Curzon Mayfair where we saw Bike Riders for much more of a premiere with Bike Riders.
Yeah, Bike Riders was a full carpet bit.
And this one, very big indoors, but not so much carpet outdoors. Hot, sticky,
It was
summer
a really,
night.
really muggy, balmy, British summer evening where you want to enjoy the heat and the sunshine, but it's close.
And the Curzon Mayfair, beautiful, but it's a low ceiling, compact. When you feel lots of people in there, it gets a little bit hot, gets a little bit sticky.
1960s or 70s building, I want to say. Also, I think it might be the first Curzon because it's on Curzon Street.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
And I will say, feel free to sort of, asterisk our opinions if you want, but
Yes.
I was really hot watching this film.
I
was
say-
hot in the foyer.
Any aircon in this building?
I spent 2 hours and 45 minutes wondering why it wasn't on and if it was broken and if all cinemas should have aircon. And loads of people have written in about times when heating has not been right in cinemas, and it can be really distracting.
If I organised that event, I would be a little bit like, oh my God, we've got, there was quite a few industry people there, Jonathan Ross, Ali Plum, and I'm thinking I've made them sit and watch Yorgos Lanthimos movies are obscure at best. This is a 2 hour 45 one, and it's 27 degrees with no air conditioning.
I sat down. I said to George, I was like, is it as hot in there? And I was like, it's cooler. And then we sat down and I realised I was in for a long one. There's one point during the film I actually thought you might have been asleep because George, I think, had obviously gone, what's the most energy efficient way for me to not heat my body? And you would sort of put your leg back like that and just completely rested every muscle. You obviously were trying to hold my head up. Yeah, it's going to consume heat that I don't need to take.
Honestly, we got an hour into the movie and I was dripping. And I was thinking, am I having a stroke or something? Is it just me? Is everyone else as hot?
There are also scenes in a sauna, we go back to a sauna, and I was like, I just can't look at someone being sweaty right now. Anyway, just going to caveat
that it was a very warm, air-conditionless, balmy plate.
Anyway, Yorgos Lanthimos is back very soon after having released Poor Things and received a lot of critical acclaim, Oscar buzz for Poor Things. Emma Stone, also in this, won the Academy Award, and I think deservedly so.
Yeah,
for her performance in Poor Things. And Poor Things is a film that I think you and I both really, really liked. It's a film
you liked it more than I did, I think.
I liked it more than you did. I feel conflicted about certain elements, and you can go and check out both of our reviews. Actually, are available on the page to go and listen to that. There's things that we have niggles in, but all in all, what an impressive film. I thought was really, really, really good.
Really divided people, that film.
It did. It really, really did. If you've been on our social media, we've put out film bites that have got a lot of interesting comments about that film. So Kinds of Kindness, you kind of got different sides of Yorgos Lanthimos. You've got his collaborations with Tony McNamara, where he does these sort of favourite Poor Things, ethereal, flowery, bombastic and loud. And then you've got these sort of scripts that are, more from Lanthimos and his co-collaborator Epithimis Philippou. Sorry if I've not pronounced that right. Where you've got the likes of Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and even Dogtooth. Yeah. These are much more stripped down. They're much more contemporary setting, minimal sparse production design, often holding a mirror up, mocking society as we know it. There's a sort of awkwardness and a politeness to their delivery, which seems to create a slightly farcical presentation of our own modern life.
It's all very Brechtian, isn't it?
Very Brecht, very Arch. He continues to enjoy to use wide-angle lenses with lots of barrel distortion, so the edge of the frame really seems to sort of like melt and distort. And one thing to think that if you loved Poor Things, which a lot of people did, you're thinking, great, Yorgos Lanthimos, in for another one. This is not the next Poor Things. No. This is Yorgos Lanthimos really doing something very different. I assume these things were shot far apart, but we've got this sort of compressed release timeline. And as soon as I started this film, I was like, this is the different Yorgos.
Yes.
We've got, still of the same filmmaker. Well, this film is structured in 3 parts, and actually the title of the film is presented 3 times in 3 colours, kinds of kindness. One in yellow, one in blue, and one in red, and these colours have a very symbolic meaning in those stories throughout the film. And we essentially get a cast including Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe,
Margaret Qualley, Joe Alwyn, and Hong Chow,
Hunter Schafer,
briefly, very briefly.
And we get different versions of these characters that have similar threads in all 3, but they're essentially playing different people.
And almost, completely unrelated stories, complete triptych.
There's things you can threadline in. And to be honest with you, so much of it is arch and different and quirky, and it's the kind of film that is, I would say, in a lot of films that we watch, we're often looking to find an emotional truth and a roundedness and a closure in the films that we watch. And I think this film and a lot of Lanthimos films are obviously saying, please try and switch off that version of your brain. I'd like to show you something very different and not try and find meaning and truth in everything that you're seeing literally. Instead, he's presenting you with 3 different ideas packaged as one thing, and is asking you, I think as an audience member, to come up with an idea. It's 2 hours 44 minutes in its runtime. We actually get 3 credit sequences within that.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Before we jump into our review, this was just a thing that I noticed and other people we spoke to noticed. In our press screening, people were leaving
at each
thing, which isn't intentional. It's not like a premiere for a TV show where you get given 3 episodes. Yeah. It was like, the people saw credits and were like, that's
that's it. They took their cue. I noticed it was empty.
Yeah, we got the chance to actually speak to a couple of people who just sort of gave us raw thoughts, processing that. Some people saying, look, not the most palatable film. I spoke to that influencer I told you I spoke to, who I think is really funny. I caught him after I left you, and he said hi, and he was like, "Oh, what'd you make of that?" And he's not a film influencer, but he was just like, "Oh, like, just not for me. Didn't get it. Still don't know what it was about." Yeah. But George, just kinds of kindness. How did you get on with it a day later?
Do you know the thing? So it's quite fresh. We only saw this late last night.
And it's a film that requires processing.
But I think for me, it's the film where I went, you know what? Yorgos and I, no, we don't. No, it's not for me, Yorgos. And
we also saw it in the worst environment.
Worst environment, and I would describe the audience's reaction as barren, completely barren.
After premieres, it's typical to not like Cannes, but you get a clap.
Timid sort of people getting their bag straight away. I would say that look. I've not seen The Lobster and I've not seen Dogtooth, but of all the Lanthimos I've seen, I really liked Killing of a Sacred Deer, and that's because it had like strong Greek tragedy bones, it had like good, like clear satire, and even though it becomes a little bit unwound towards the end, I really liked that. Poor Things I thought was, fine. I love the production design of it. Again, I think it gets a little bit lost. And The Favourite I thought was a little bit overhyped, but this I was at first, it's hard because you're basically kind of reviewing 3 mini films, and the first film has it's very much in Killing a Sacred Deer territory. It's like socially awkward, social satire, humor, odd, but I could go with it, and I quite like the concept of it, and it probably runs, I don't know how long the first section is.
They're all about 50 minutes.
Yeah, and I like, and it's incredible. It's mainly Jesse Plemons' section.
The most Plemons I've seen.
The most
I think,
Plemons.
in films.
Yeah, this is very much a Plemons and Stone film. They share probably the same amount of screen time across
Stone
the 3 stories.
back-weighted, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. So Jesse Plemons leads the first story, which is fine. Probably the strongest, I think, of the three.
I think so too.
The second story is weaker, still got a good amount of Plemons in it, but I think ultimately it has a really great concept. The second one that I would have loved to have seen explored as a whole film.
It's like you got 3 first act films.
3 first
That's
act.
what
We
I
did, and then by the third one, I really started to lose patience with it, and crucially, there's something quite serious and nasty that happens in the third story that I don't think Lanthimos handles very well.
I think so too.
And I think he brings it in, and it's all kind of wrapped up in the classic Lanthimos tongue-in-cheek sense of humor, like, oh, am I being serious? Am I not done? And it was at that point when I knew that he didn't deal with it properly, I went, we're done here.
Yeah,
we're done here. Thank you. So for me, I just came away thinking, yeah, Yorgos and I, we don't click. I'm actually kind of relieved that I don't have to keep up this sort of pretense of trying to engage in the cult of Yorgos Lanthimos. That when this film was being released, everyone's like, oh yes, it's Yorgos Lanthimos. This new film. Yorgos Lanthimos. Yeah, I don't care. And I on my way home, I saw posters for this all over the tube, and I'm like, this film is really going to wind people up.
Yeah.
I feel quite awkward that this is getting a full release
Don't
treatment.
go from the guy that brought you Poor Things.
No,
this isn't the next Poor Thing.
And yes, I get everything that Yorgos is trying to do, and he's trying to break away from certain expectations of what stories can give you, and I get all of that. But I also think that it's a little bit wanky, it's a little bit pretentious, it's a little obscure. He's got this cheekiness to his films that like is enjoyable, but to the point where I'm like, I know that you could tell this story clearer and get your point across in a different way, Yorgos, but you're being deliberately obscure, and I find that annoying.
I think the real kind of kindness would have been to try and do that in half the runtime.
Yes.
Because if you're going to bring a bunch of different... You know what it feels like? It's like, you love Yorgos Lanthimos. Here's a whole bunch of bonus Yorgos Lanthimos ideas. Because you contrast it with Poor Things, which from a production execution standpoint is just phenomenal. And I'm like, how does anyone who wants to pick up a camera go and do that? I'm not saying that what Yorgos Lanthimos did in this film is easy, but there's a stripped back indie style, which is shooting places as they are, which is so clearly contrast from Poor Things. And I kind of feel like we got leftover ideas brought together and assembled in a way that weren't, I think, satisfyingly brought together enough to make it compelling for an audience.
I agree. I was thinking
it's
this
like
is
bonus.
It's the B-side to Poor Things. It's like, you like that flip over, or here's something we also cooked earlier.
And look, at moments I think it's funny, but it never really sort of engaged with me as a comment. It could have been funnier.
With those stories, it really could have been sharper.
Yorgos Lanthimos loves to unpack this idea in lots of his films about a dissonance between the mind and the body and relationships. You could literally, I mean, I've not seen all his films, but in every one I've seen, that is like a foundational core. And in this, there are so many things of like, the person you're looking at is not the person you know. They're not using their body in the way that they think they are. That's true for all of them. Manipulation. He shoots the body in a very particular way. Bodies are exploited. Bodies are used. And I think Jesse Plemons' acting style really lends itself to Lanthimos. He's wonderful at being awkward, strange, but also quite sinister when he needs to be. And you can see that sort of like stumbling through life, shy guy. He does really well, but lost patience with it. I agree. I thought the moment you mentioned in the third one came and went, and like a lot of plot points, things just start to wash over me. So I admire the idea of deconstructing cinema into that structure, but I just think, given the indulgence of that film, you should have tried to do it in half the runtime. And that's where I left with it.
I agree. I will say a big what you just touched on. Yorgos always gets great performances from his actors, and sure enough, Emma Stone still turns up, delivers the goods. Still one of the best, actors working today. Plemons, fantastic. Willem Dafoe. He gets Lanthimos perfectly. He lives and breathes it. He's just such a good actor.
We're so
he
blessed.
Plays 3 completely different characters.
Completely. And I think we're so blessed to live in a world where Willem Dafoe can thrive and be Willem Dafoe. And he's got this wonderful valley in Yorgos Lanthimos. Today, if worth seeing it for Willem Dafoe, everyone's great in it. But I'm just so glad he gets to be that weird. And I really think in decades down the line, you and I are going to have a conversation about Willem Dafoe's career. And we'll just go, look at all the things this guy did, and how impactful and fun he is as a performer.
So, do you know what? I want to get your opinion about this, because it was introduced on stage by Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons and the producers. But I got almost the vague sense that even they didn't really know what they were describing.
No.
Jesse Plemons, I don't think said anything. I think Emma Stone was being as charming as ever and just being sort of like, yeah, no, it was like I learned how to scuba dive. And I don't know where she learned how to scuba dive because it's not the fucking movie. I don't know if she was just joking, but I was like, wait, a deleted scene perhaps. And Yorgos was like, yeah, it was kind of inspired by Caligula. And I'm like, really? Really?
You know what comment really made me have a good idea of what I was about to get in for? He talked about this. The wonderful Edith Bowman said, "Oh, and of course, Emma, like, you had that dance that's in the trailer and it's in this. How did that come in?" And she basically told the story about how she was messing about with her friend on the side of the set and did this
on the set of Poor Things.
On the set of Poor Things, did this like gyrating dance thing and got sent to Yorgos Lanthimos. And Yorgos Lanthimos was like, "It's great. It's going to go in the film." To me, that attitude really does evoke what this thing is. It's an semblance of scenes and ideas that aren't cohesively put together. It's a lot of my most creative friends and my most talented actors getting together and making something a little bit too long.
Have you ever seen the Key and Peele sketch about Gremlins 2? Gremlins 2.
No, but I think you told me.
So I've not seen Gremlins or Gremlins 2, but like it's about how apparently Gremlins 2 is just like completely batshit. And so they've imagined this like screenwriting pitch meeting between like 8 writers around a table, and then a guy from the producer comes down and he basically he lets them, he puts everything they say straight off the bat into the movie. So he does this thing where he's like, come on, think of a gremlin. And he's like, how about one that shoots like lightning? And he's like, you're talking about a gremlin that can shoot lightning out of its fingers and rains? I love it. It's going in the movie. And that's what Yorgos Lanthimos is like, yeah, you're dancing, it's in the movie.
Yep. A jacuzzi made of the tears of a sort of
I love it. In the movie. An expensive yacht that doesn't really relate to anything. In the movie. Also, a lot of nudity again.
A lot, yeah, and it did. I did scratch my chin a little bit, thinking, "Are we going into familiar
because we get
territory with sort of?" I'm not going to get into
female nudity as
female
well.
Nudity, exploitation of nudity for shock impact, which again, like the incident we said, isn't. It's not warranted. It's not earned. Those moments aren't unpacked enough to make them worth showing.
Yeah.
As always, we'd love to hear what you guys think. In one sense, I could imagine a real auteur saying, no, sit down, watch it again, look out for these things, look out for things. I don't want to. I don't want to see it again. Yeah. I'm not gonna. I believe it's there for me to unpack. I'm just not interested in doing it.
I also my opinion of like cinema is that like it is a conversation between filmmaker and audience, and like it is a part of an audience responsibility to bring and be expectant and be open to what's being presented to you. But equally, the filmmaker should be wanting to engage with you and to discuss new ideas. Yeah. And I get this feeling that Yorgos is like, it's like Yorgos has written this joke that only he knows the punchline to and he doesn't want to tell you. And I'm like, well, you can't.
Get little bits.
You can't just sit me down for 3 hours and expect me to enjoy that. You have to talk to me.
It's like when I went to one of Talia's lectures at Cambridge and half of it was in Latin. And if you didn't speak fluent Latin, you weren't getting it. So like I'd think, oh wow, a lecture at Cambridge, what a treat. I should treat myself. And he's like, well, of course, here what we know is equam cuique, so salve equam fortumus. And then the crowd would go, oh. I think I'm there looking around like, is there something wrong?
Anyway, yes, please let us know your thoughts on Kinds of Kindness.
Hello at popkitchenpodcast.com.
A real
and also like the illusion of it is it's obviously like it's really cinematically engaging and interesting. I do enjoy this. It's distorted. Gorgeous. Yeah, it's gorgeous to look at, and every time he brings you into a room, you're invited to look closer. He loves the wides. He loves shooting characters in a space, making them feel awkward in where they are. Like it's all there for you to enjoy from a cinematography perspective, but it's another example of like cinematography it can't just be cinematography.
Yeah, it can't be surface. You need to actually
pictures. So you're strung along for 2+ hours, but like, well, it's all just really beautifully shot and beautifully done. So that's kind of where we're sat on it. I could kind of tell we were having a similar reaction. My main sort of PSA is it is Lanthimos, but if you are wanting more Poor Things, wait for the next one.
Yeah, this is for the deep, die-hard Yorgos Lanthimos fans. Yeah. And for God's sake, watch it with some air
My
conditioning.
friend Mike is going to love it.
He loves Lanthimos, does he?
Well, he loves these slightly obtuse, challenging. Let's not make a film in the 3-act structure that we do. Yeah, he'll find a film there's always a film that like I just didn't quite get on with, and he's like, oh no, you missed point, it's brilliant, and he's not wrong. But I have a feeling he'll love it.
Look, I'm sure some people will love it, and maybe that's like I at one point I was just thinking I guess my brain is wired to engage with things in a different way, and that's fair enough. And there's people who have a different brain wiring.
And it's not because I need a 3-act structure, and it was about all the friends we made along the way at the end. It's really not what I want. It's just that didn't work for me. But as always, guys, hello at popkitchenpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Send them in.
James, should we begin with some of the emails we've received this week from our sirens? Beginning with, of course, the VIP and producer members of our Patreon who have sent in the questions. Owen, who we read out last week, has replied and just said that, because he worked a night shift, remember? And we said, doing what? And he says, nothing glamorous, I'm afraid. Working in the warehouse, breaking down deliveries at Sainsbury's. However, it allows me to focus my time on my graphic design degree and fit in my first love, movies.
I love it. I can picture it.
Yeah.
A context for you now. I love having context for the listeners.
It's absolutely fantastic. Owen's question is this. What films and or franchises do you like that people might question? As in guilty pleasures or things that people find cheesy and not that great? I have this with my love of the Fast and Furious franchise and any Jason Statham film. Keep up the awesome work. Love your reviews, etc.
That's probably the best way to enjoy Fast and Furious, which is to treat it as a guilty pleasure.
Well, and then Saf, who's another one of our VIPs, commented and said, I'd never seen any Fast and Furious till this year. And oh my God, they are so much fun. I can't wait to... I know that sticking one on will cheer me up. And she's just watched the 6th. And honestly, they keep getting worse, but better.
Yeah, it's like a horseshoe of quality and worse. Like there's this weird little gap, and that's where they. You know how like when you talk about political ideologies, like far right, far left tend to be closer together. It's an interesting one because obviously like National Treasure should be a franchise and isn't, but I think Two Films Maketh a franchise.
Sure.
It should be a franchise. It's weird because we have franchises within our franchises. So like for me, my guilty pleasure / I'll always have a soft spot for it is Spider-Man.
The original trilogy.
Or is in like anything.
So
like the original is what would have captured my heart as a little kid, but I'm always just like wanting to hear from that character and those people, even when the films aren't as good, like Amazing Spider-Man 2, or, you know,
I mean,
Tom Holland's one sometimes not quite landing. I'm like, I still just love Peter Parker and that struggle. And like the Insomniac games, if you played them, the most recent one, Spider-Man 2, was just brilliant. It's better than a lot of the films.
I think for me, Marvel used to be what Owen and Saf used the Fast and Furious for, in the sense that, like, if I wanted a little, you know, don't get me wrong, some Marvel films are great, but for the most part, I would use it as kind of like, to relax down, reset, turn my brain off. Whenever I would have, it used to be if I had a day off and there was a new Marvel release, but like great, take myself to see that on my own, guilt free. Just watch that. I don't think about that. Marvel is now it's too far gone now to do even enjoy that. But that was what it used to be for me.
Yeah, it's like. Then I would sit down and I'd be like, yeah, I guess I'm going to watch Eternals. And then just finishing Eternals and being like, I was so bored. How was I so bored?
Quantumania.
How can it be that... Oh, Quantumania, we're going even further. But it's like, how can you be that guilty pleasure when it might bore me?
Yeah. That's one of the worst things a film could ever do.
Yeah. It's like with a lot of Star Wars content at the moment being dull. Like, what are we doing here? Should be fun. Do you know that George Lucas on set of the original Star Wars, his one note apparently all the time to Hamill, Fisher and Ford was just like faster. And the actors were like, really fast? He's like, yeah, just the delivery faster, more energies, more at stake, there's more of this. And they were like, okay, so that's why. It's like, where you go, Flyboy? What do you mean? Get in the chute, get in the garbage chute. It's boom, we go.
It's a romp. It's a silly little romp, but that's great.
Because otherwise some of those films could be very slow.
Well, that's what The Acolyte was like, the first couple of episodes. You know, I found this thing. Yes, Master Jedi.
Maybe that's...
And the prequels as well, a bit like that.
Maybe May. Screen wipe.
And then that's an episode 1 done. Anyway, thank you very much to our VIPs. Then don't forget, if you are a VIP or a producer level of our Patreon, you can get in priority access for your emails every week.
This next one is from friend of the show, Emily.
Oh, hi, Emily.
Emily writes in and says, hi, James and George and James.
Hi.
Loving how much content the Sirens are getting with the usual show, plus Double Take, guys. That's right. Go over to the Patreon and have a look at our Double Take episodes. With the upcoming release of Twisters, I was thinking about how you can track the era of cinema via the trends.
Okay.
Did I tell you I saw an IMAX trailer for Twisters and I was like, God, that looks compelling.
Yes.
I'm in.
Yes, you use that word again, compelling. I was like, compelling, I usually think of like compelling drama.
Because I'm like, it doesn't look brilliant.
Awesome,
or smart.
I'd say awesome in the original sense of the words, like full of awe.
Yeah, my eyes just wide open, twisters in my pupils. Via cinema trends, Emily says. She now breaks down the decades and gives a trend for each decade.
Okay.
So 50s, westerns, 60s.
And musicals, technically.
Let's let Emily.
I'm so sorry, Emily. Sorry. Forgive me.
50s, westerns. 60s, psychological thrillers. 70s, gangster movies, 80s/90s, erotic thrillers, 90s/noughties, disaster movies, noughties, rom-coms and fantasy films, brackets Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Pirates, etc., 2010s, superhero movies. Right now, I feel we are in a biopics and reboots era, which isn't exactly a breeding ground for originality. I think people are craving something new. So what do you think will be the next big trend? Also, do you have any particular favorites? I love the absolute fever dream campiness of films like Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction, Eyes Wide Shut. Thank you so much for the continual top quality content. Not written from anywhere interesting, remote, or obscure. So,
okay.
Obviously, like these are broad stroke ideas. So 50s westerns, 60s psychological thrillers.
I'm not just thinking of psychological thrillers in the 60s. You mean like Rosemary's Baby? Is it
like...
Because I still see 60s like Hollywood as being very... I guess Hitchcock is the example. I see it as being much more still quite safe and sanitized. But you're right, Hitchcock. Okay,
so then he was like a pioneer.
Yeah, and it's like 70s. We say gangster movies. It's like just because The Godfather came up. Really, actually, I see the 70s being much more like introspective, like moody dramas. I mean, coming out of Hollywood in particular. Like
I don't think the lines are clear, but I definitely see your through line in that you do get erotic thrillers, disaster movies, noughties, which we're going to cover next week, dominated by the birth of the biggest fantasy franchises. 2010s, yes, superhero films.
I do think when you say like what eras are like, would you like to see more of and come back? And I agree with you about like erotic thrillers. People have been trying to say that the erotic thriller is back, and we kind of had it with Challenges this year actually, which is basically an erotic thriller, even though it looks like a sports drama. Because there was a point, particularly in the last decade, where films became actually very desexualized in a strange way, which is like at the beginning of the noughties, you had kind of films were very horny. Okay, particularly male horniness. Okay, American Pie, all that kind of like frat boy kind of humor.
It's we're free from the shackles of the last 40 years of conservative
it was just
ideas
like,
around sex.
Wow, she's got big jugs, and it's a very horny movie. Okay, and that kind of then abated and dipped away. And by the time you get to things like, similar teen movies like. Hunger Games is a good example, right? Almost like completely sexist. It's all about the violence and the action and that. And like, there's not really. It's like people became uncomfortable about including sex, particularly around comedies and
even like Seth Rogen's brand of stoner bro comedies it's slightly calmed down now.
But it's like, you need to have sex in cinema because
we love it.
It's a part of society. But you should be able to talk about it and present
it's a part of life.
It's a part of life, exactly. So
Tits and dragons.
So erotic thrillers. Well, exactly. That's the only where sex went, was on TV. It went to Game of Thrones.
Totally.
But
Bridgerton
I would like to see. Yes, Bridgerton's made a revival. Absolutely, that's good. But I'd like to see. No, I'd like to see some really sort of juicy. You want to see some sexy films, because Challengers doesn't actually have a sex scene in it. There's intimate moments, but there's no actual love scene.
Yeah, there's the bit build up to what would be,
and then there's the aftermath. But there's not an actual.
The last scene is the sex, really.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
And you make the sex the metaphor, and then everything else is just.
I think 50 Shades of Grey did more damage to the genre than it did revive it.
Yeah,
I remember vanilla. And I just remember speaking to friends about it, and it's it's incredible first book success and then box office success, and it's like there's a massive appetite for sexual stories written from the female gaze. There's this huge appetite, and I think Bridgerton is obviously servicing that. But I'm like, is this all we have to offer? This quality? Is that the best we can do? And that was the tragedy of it. Is like this is what people are watching. Sorry to all the 50 Shades fans, but I watched 2/3 of the first one. And it's one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget one of my year 2 housemates, like we came back from whatever holiday break it was, and she was like, oh yeah, I saw like 50 Shades of Grey movie. And I was about to be like, oh my God, yeah, what's the thing? And she was like, that was one of the best films I've ever seen. Like, I loved it. And I remember just thinking like, even I know there's like men, women divide. I remember just thinking like, how, in what universe could you say that's a good film?
I never saw it, so.
And I just remember being blown away. I remember like piping down and just being like, I'm just going to let her.
You're eating more, sorry. Thank you, Emily.
And I'm not like that with a lot of people who show opinions. Yes. Do you have any particular favourites?
So there I said erotic thrillers, it'd be good to see them back. I mean, Westerns...
biopics and
actually, no, musicals, because...
what do you think will be the next big trend?
Well, I don't know what the next big trend, but I will just say I would love musicals to be like accepted and marketed as musicals instead of sort of being hidden. Like with Mean Girls, they hid the fact that it was a musical.
Yeah.
Like people will like musicals. It's okay. I mean, Wicked's coming out this year. Sorry, I should.
That looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. No. I haven't watched the trailer. I've never seen it, but
I've never seen the play.
Anna says the trailer shows everything, so I don't watch it.
I've never seen the play. I don't
me neither.
Next week trend. I think that the Denis Villeneuve style of smart entice you to see it on the biggest screen is where cinema is heading.
Big sci-fi.
Not necessarily sci-fi, but large ideas. It's something that gets you to see it on a big screen. Like I think actually films like Twister, unfortunately Godzilla and Kong.
But like
Spectacle,
what,
large
big
screen.
event spectacle.
The home screen is too comfortable. It's too easy. There's too much content. They have to create an incentive to watch in cinema. So I don't see you're not going to see a de-emphasis on large screen, on IMAX, on large format, on spectacle. I think that we're going to lean more towards that. And I don't see the resurgence of the rom-com, the comedy in cinema coming back.
No,
unfortunately,
streaming really,
streaming
or TV really. Kind of
TV, yeah, which is a shame because people want them, but they don't go and see them.
Next email is from Blake, who says, "Ahoy! Hi James, hi George. I recently discovered your podcast and really love it. My wife and I listen to all of your episodes during what seems like our endless road trips around California each
Nice.
weekend for weddings."
That's so
I'm
cute.
placing you in your early 30s.
Yeah.
We've even discussed doing a husband and wife movie podcast together for fun.
Nice.
I'd just like to quickly hear your thoughts about two films, Tenet and Bullet Train. So the reason I wanted to read out Blake's email is because I also watched Bullet Train recently. I watched it last week.
Yeah.
So I'll give you Blake's thoughts first. Blake said, "When it comes to Bullet Train, I really did enjoy it. It seems like it gets ragged on a bit too often, but I thought it was entertaining, funny, and action-packed. It's sort of my litmus test movie, and I'm convinced people who don't like it are just taking films way too seriously.
Okay.
It's star-studded, violent, witty, and based in whimsical Japan." Now, I think, I see clips of Bullet Train all the time online.
Oh,
It's
really?
a
How
really...
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I never have.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Loads of people always post... not content that I actually want to engage with. But it's always clips of Aaron Taylor-Johnson looking amazing. And I don't know why that's on my algorithm. I don't know how that got there.
Shirtless.
Yeah, just him. When your algorithm knows you better than you. Anyway, so it was like a perfect like Saturday night evening in. Anna and I had been out all day and we were like, we just want an easy watch. And we watched Bullet Train and I thought it absolutely hit the spot perfectly. It's only 2 hours and it is the longest 2 hours I've ever seen in a film because it goes, I think you said the same thing, it's great, and then it's like, oh no, there's half an hour left to go. And you're like, but the film was done. The film was over. No, there's a cameo from a famous actor who's got to come in the third act.
Do a bit of Kill Bill. And
Yeah.
then we're going to do a fourth act.
But I actually think it's like, because it's the director who spoke to for The Fall Guy, and I'm like, yeah, action comedy, like it is. The whole Guy Ritchie, I'm English, you're English, is really annoying. Yeah. But it's slick, it's quick, it's a popcorn movie Saturday night, and I had a lot of time for it.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
and then I also watched The Lost City the next night.
The other Sandra Bullock.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Which came out the same
day, I think.
Did you?
I think I did.
don't think you did. I don't remember you talking about it. I think you went to and then you were like, I don't have enough to say about it. Well, I thought that was by comparison.
I reviewed it, but I can't remember.
I didn't think much of that at all. Do you know what was weird about The Lost City? Is that even though it's got Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Daniel Radcliffe and
Brad Pitt's character from that film.
Well, almost, yeah. And it's like, actually, when you look closely, there's not many people in the film.
No,
it's like anyone but you. It's like if you look closely, there's like 2 henchmen, and there's one scene where like they infiltrate the compound, but all the henchmen look like they work at a golf academy, just like polo tops, and then it's just the 2 of them. It's a very empty film.
It's like replaying GTA 3, and you look at the city, and you're like, there's only 2 people on this street in downtown New York.
Yeah,
because it couldn't render it.
Yeah.
I had the same thing when I saw Anyone But You. I was like, it's a wedding, but there's no one here.
Yeah.
And then I rewatched Bridesmaids, and I was like, I really get the sense there are actually people attending this thing.
Yeah.
Sparse. It's a really weird feeling when that happens.
Yeah, really sparse when like they blew all the money on the main talent and the location.
And in Anyone But You, it was like they rented a gorgeous beachside villa and were like, we will stay here and film here with the 6 members of the cast.
Anyway, but yes, that was Lost City as well. And then Blake just mentions Tenet, which we have talked about a few times, but Blake quickly says, when it comes to Tenet, I only recently discovered it, and I've now seen it 5 times in a row, once for the re-release in IMAX. The film absolutely suffered from a 2020 release, and
Agreed.
I believe it could have been much better received had more people been able to see it in theatres and not been so stressed and grumped about the pandemic. Sure, it's got a few plot holes here and there, and the dialogue audio is a bit muted at parts, but this film is absolutely brilliant in my opinion and beautiful on the big screen. The soundtrack is also fire. In my opinion, this is Nolan's best film. Hot take, but there it is. So my question, George and James, is what do you think of these films?
It's usually a lot of people's.
It is my least favourite Nolan film. Blake and Andrea from California. Yeah, my least favourite Nolan. I've said before, I just think it's one of the. Okay. What I will say is every single Nolan film I've ever seen is always better on subsequent viewing. Sure. And I've only seen it once, but my viewing of it, I thought, this is why people don't make movies based on advanced concepts of, is it thermodynamics? Like
entropy.
Yeah, which is like, is that part of thermodynamics? I'm not. Is it all advanced physics? But exactly. But like, it's like I was watching, thinking there's a reason this doesn't translate and it doesn't work.
I've always said I think Tenet's very compelling. I think there's an idea in there that I really believe works on paper, but it does not necessarily work to watch it back.
Yes,
I totally think you match it up. Sorry, sirens on our end.
Sorry.
And then that really, I think, is true in the last act where there's the Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's getting a lot of love in today's
He is. He's Nosferatu as well.
Yeah, the Aaron Taylor in that last scene where he's explaining stuff and buildings are falling back up in slow motion and bombs are coming out of things, but people are moving forward and backward. I'm like, I bet it works, but it's not necessarily carrying through. But I think if you told me, James, I've got 2 tickets for 70mm Tenet this week, do you fancy it? I personally would go, yeah, I'll give it a go, because I've not seen it now for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I still think Nolan packages his films in a really fun way. He presents them in a really exciting way. There is a fun heist element to it, and part of me thinks, sure, I'll give it another go and see if I can do this. So I don't hold bad feelings towards it. I remember watching it and enjoying my experience with it, but coming out, I was left a little deflated that I didn't get it.
Yeah, I also
and I saw
agree
it twice in IMAX. I really did give it a go.
I think Nolan obviously puts a lot of thought and care into his work, so out of respect, I would happily see it again. But yes, thank you for that email, Blake.
This next one is from Kyle, who writes in and says, "Hey guys, Kyle from Atlanta here. Sirens on my end. Sirens on our end still.
The world's falling apart.
Just recently subscribed to the Patreon and I'm loving it so far. I love the loose feel with the current movie news coming out, so keep up the good work. This week on Double Take, you talked about the actor Chiwetel Ejiofor and the opportunities he may or may not have received due to his name being harder for English speakers to pronounce.
A very cynical idea, but I genuinely think that's something that has held him back unfairly.
We had a conversation because we saw Chiwetel Ejiofor in the trailer for Venom 3.
Yes.
And we were like, Chiwetel Ejiofor? Venom 3?
Yeah, really?
He's a really good actor who was in an Oscar-winning film, and we just think... And then me and George wondered that he's not hard done by, but we had a sort of completely based on no knowledge. What if he is almost being cast in loads of great films, and he's not quite getting it, and we just sort of started rambling off about theories. Maybe like actually having a hard-to-pronounce name in the world doesn't do you
hard to
favours.
pronounce for you know, ignorant,
for people who would be casting films, is what I mean. Harder to pronounce. That specific reason aside, it made me think of a conversation I've had with my movie friends about actors who are far better than their filmography shows. Sure. I currently have 3 as my examples and was curious your thoughts on them.
I like this very much.
Number 1, John Hamm. I feel that since Mad Men, he hasn't been the leading star of anything that's close to the magnitude he had while on that show. He's a far better actor than popping up occasionally as side characters in TV shows, and I'm ultimately just shocked he hasn't been given his Oscar-worthy lead performance yet.
Interesting. It's funny you say that because I agree. It's always hard when you've been a really established TV actor to make the leap. And also John Hamm, I think, he probably could have committed to being the leading man if he just focused on that. But he's a comedic guy. He loves comedy, so he also wanted to flex his muscle over there. And I think sometimes that drew away from people seeing him as just a comedy, just as a drama lead. But also, the thing is, John Hamm is actually... many people are saying John Hamm has just delivered one of the best performances in his career since Mad Men with the most recent series of Fargo, which I think they're pushing him. I can see at the moment he's done one of those actors on actors things, and it's clear that he's being in the running for an Emmy nomination. So I think it's like, it's a TV actor who has still made success in TV. But I agree. I always like to see him and stuff. I'm like, John Hamm again. Like Baby Driver, he had that little thing.
It's like him and Bryan Cranston were both in like really top TV shows. I'm not saying I don't think Bryan Cranston's probably had a better run of it, but
Yeah,
even
he's
still
done better out of it.
Their heights are those
Yeah.
shows. It's tough when you're in something that good. And it can typecast you a little bit if he doesn't necessarily want to play Don Draper for the rest of his life.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bryan Cranston could do like Bryan Cranston. I think is doing fine, and he's sort of been actually, as you say, he's done interesting film roles, interesting TV roles, since interesting theatre roles. But he needs like
He's got it in him.
He needs to be known for
really
something
good
else
role.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, well done for being Heisenberg. Don't get me wrong.
Next one is Adrian Brody. This one is super intriguing because the man won an Oscar when he was only 29 in one of his first major roles. Apparently, this made him the youngest actor to ever win that specific Oscar, and it shows. The movie aside, his performance in that alone is incredible for someone that young. But
The pianist, yeah.
The pianist, yeah. But again, since it's then been a real odd journey for him, lots of low-budget action movies and TV performances, but nothing of real acclaim. And I'm just shocked he has not received another chance at a career-defining role later in his career.
Okay, so I agree. This is an interesting one where he had that initial period after The Pianist. He was in King Kong.
In every Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, he's in every Wes and still is. And then he was in like Predators, so they tried to make him an action lead.
God, I saw that in cinema.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, it just ends.
Okay. Anyway, but yeah, in the last decade, it's like we only see him in Wes Anderson stuff, and then he's had a minor resurgence in the past. I'd say 3 years where he was in Blonde. Remember he turned up in Blonde as Arthur Miller?
Yeah, and he's really good.
He was really good in that, and he was in like one episode of Succession. But he did a lot of PR just off the back of that, and very cynically. Okay, this is my very, very cynical hat on.
You're really low.
I am low because I don't want to like be mean to anyone. I like Adrian Brody as an actor. I think he's really interesting. But sometimes when you're like massively famous actor, done very well, but isn't getting a lot of work, I'm like, is that because they are very? I didn't want to say arsehole. I said, is it because he's just very difficult to work with? Just it's an interpretation, and that could be
based on nothing.
Could be completely erroneous. I'm sure he's lovely if he wants to come on the show anytime.
Adrian,
it's a theory that one could put forward. However, as I don't know any of that, I don't know him. I don't know anything about that. I would say that I agree. Great actor.
Good in
Would like
King
to see him in more.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've always thought he's a really welcome addition to any cast. But he's a leading man. He's ready to take on really big roles.
Why isn't he playing a villain in like he could play a good villain in
Bond?
Bond?
Is that crazy?
Yeah,
I thought Plemons would be a good Bond villain, actually.
Plemons is a really good actor. Jesse Plemons
really
is
good.
really. That's why I just
really
realized
good.
last night watching that. I'm like, you are a fantastic.
We
actor.
find out last night. Did we say who this was? Who we were speaking to?
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke to Ali Plum last night.
Yeah.
Really lovely to speak to. We bumped into him a couple of times, and we were just talking about actors who almost got cast in certain things, and we think that's an idea. It's an interesting idea that's quite hard.
And we were talking about Jesse Plemons' amount of screen time. How he had more in this than we expected. And then Ali Plum was like, well, it's like in Killers of the Flower Moon, where he does have a significant amount, but right towards the end. And then we talked about his moment in Civil War.
It's just
one
scene. You get
one
just
scene
one
in Civil War. And then Ali Plum says...
So basically said that someone else was meant to play that role, and Jesse Plemons got brought in at the very last minute because obviously he's married to Kirsten Dunst, who's the star in that film.
Because that other actor couldn't do it.
The other actor couldn't do it
for some reason. And that actor was a name. It was meant to be a defined actor.
Whereas someone just goes to Kirsten, can you just? Is he just at
I
home?
think he's on the side of the set, just looking
literally
there, like
just with the dog having a little chill.
But it worked.
And yeah, totally worked. And he's really good in
Probably
that.
the
Really
most
good in that moment.
memorable
And he's a good
scene.
person to just call up and say, "Hey, listen, it's not. I'm not asking you to reinvent the wheel. I need you to be creepy, unnerving, surprisingly normal and domestic, but then I need you to just reap havoc."
Kind of sounds dumber than he might be. He strokes his cheek like that. Might be okay. Are you American?
Yeah. What kind of American are you?
What kind of American are you?
Yeah, Plemons, Bond.
Anyway,
is that crazy? Not as Bond villain.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah. Maybe rogue CIA guy.
Next one. And this is the real confusing one. Idris Mother effing Elba. I've included photos of his IMDb because, similar to John Hamm, going from one of the most critically acclaimed TV shows to what he's been up to lately, it's genuinely shocked me. His role in The Wire blew people away, and how he somehow is stuck between bad franchises, kids' movies, and poorly made action films with only a handful of interesting roles within that.
Well, interesting. Sorry.
Yeah.
I read it differently. I see Idris Elba and I go, wow, that's an actor who can be in Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, can be in Suicide Squad, can be in George Miller's 3,000 Years of Longing, really esoteric film.
Yeah.
Can turn up in great. He can do Luther, drama TV series. He's really good. He has a 5
And then he
episode.
can do a DJ set at Glastonbury.
Do DJ set Glastonbury. He has a 5. The whole arc he has in The American Office, where he's really funny. Love that. And also he does like he's done a couple of like BBC sitcom shows. That for me is breadth. And I see that if I was an actor, that's success.
And a Sky TV ad continuously for about 10
Yeah.
years. He's always doing a Sky TV ad.
I look at that and I don't see that as sort of spotty. I see that as, he's someone who can clearly fit into different
I
roles.
bet he gets sent loads of scripts. I reckon he's got more scripts than he ever needs. And I just think he...
Is it because we're not seeing him do a proper meaty drama role?
We're doing a lot of... in the last few weeks, speculating on like actors' directions and what is and isn't. Have you noticed?
Yeah, we have done that.
We're really like trying to consider the careers of actors. I've noticed it.
I think Idris is doing okay, but anyway.
Yeah, it just will be fine.
What else can't
Too old to play James Bond now, and I think it should go in a different direction. Carl goes on to say, all in all, I'm not saying these actors have not been in anything good since, but the good performances they have been in seem like diamonds in the rough for actors who I think should be consistently cast in roles that showcase them more. I'm also just curious why you think this is. Is their management, their personal choices, their professional conduct behind the scenes, or a mix of multitude of reasons? Yeah, I mean,
we've touched on that. Also, Idris Elba directed his own movie called Yardi. Not a lot of people saw it, but like, they're busy.
He's up to stuff.
He's doing stuff, yeah.
Again, thank you for the EPs every week. You guys have become my favourite podcast, and I'm always excited to see what movies you'll talk about this week. P.S. Ripley is the best show I've seen in so long. Would have not have tried it without you guys recommending it, so thanks for that too. Thank you, Carl. That's why we're here.
It's good.
It's so good. Go and watch Ripley.
And last off, we have Ant, who writes in with, "Hi both. I was just wondering..."
Also, Netflix, are you listening? Because we could,
Yeah,
what's up?
I feel like Netflix, we have been the
What's
biggest
up?
supporters of that show.
When your stuff is good, come on, let's just... Anyway.
I was just wondering what you guys thought of Letterboxd and similar apps that involve rating movies. I enjoy seeing George's updates on it, but notice that James doesn't have it. I love it as I think it's a great way to log what I have been watching and see what friends are watching. And I guess a broader question within this is whether you, as film critics, James, we're film critics, like giving movies a score. Some podcast newspapers seem to do it and others don't. Would be interested in hear your thoughts. Okay, should we, from Ant, a siren, about giving things a score, it is kind of arbitrary, and I think we might have touched on this before. I like that when we talk on it on the show, you and I, we don't have to rate it.
No.
I like the fact because this is a long form conversation, and it really expresses it. Letterboxd, I do give ratings on Letterboxd most of the time. There are a couple of films where I just don't know what to rate, so I don't put it. But it's like because that is typically it's short form, impulsive, even snapshot thinking. That's why I occasionally will use the ratings.
Yeah, I hate scores for reviews, anything. I think they're dumb, and I think on websites and articles, people, when they know there's a review score, click on it and scroll to the bottom to find out the score, and maybe don't even read the review, read half of it. It reduces it down. The more the more broad mathematical score there is, like if it's on a 100-point scale, so dumb to give something an 81 and something else an 84 or a 76. It's like what numerical value are you attributing to it? If you're going to do it, bring that score down to something as small as possible, like out of 5 stars. But even then, I just think it reduces. I don't want to. If I reviewed something 2 years ago and gave it an 81, and then years down the line I give something else an 83, but I think the 81 is better, I don't want to be held to that number. Yeah. That was a moment in time when I felt something. And also, I always think that when I've always listened and watched and read reviews, a lot of the time, if it's someone who I know quite well, I actually know the taste of the person who's reviewing it. And I'll often put that in context with my taste and be like, well, they really like that thing. But I know that we have different tastes. The same way that you might notice me and George like different things. And you might say, well, actually, I agree with those guys on their review of this, but I just totally didn't on that review. And that's fine. And you should always try and contextualize it. So any numerical value to art. I've seen people go on a 100-point scale. They go out of 10 for visuals, 8. Out of 10 for story, 7. Out of 10 for thing, and then they combine the out of 10s to get a score out of 100.
Oh, rubbish.
Like, what are you doing?
I also think that cynically, the star rating system was probably something invented by either PR for the studios, PR and marketing for the studios, or because exactly, you put it on the poster. It's just a great way of selling a movie.
I've said before, flippantly, 10 out of 10. And I mean that as like that's another thing. It's like, what does each number means different things to different people. It was like, well, a 10 out of 10, a good film is 7. but is 7 not good? Should the good be 5?
Because I've heard film critics say, "Oh, a 3-star movie is still a good movie," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it is," but people wouldn't think that way because we're used to being it sold on a 4 out of 5.
Should a 5 out of 10 be like a mediocre or like it's okay? But some people go 5 out of 10.
I'll
That's not
briefly
very
tell you
good.
how mine works on Letterboxd. Okay, 5-star, like amazing, outstanding, like transcendental.
Go watch it.
Rarely films make a 5-star view rating on the first viewing for me.
Yeah.
4.5 is like, wow, I've just seen a fucking good movie. Excellent movie. Just seen a great movie. 4 stars is like,
So it's a 10-point scale.
it is a 10-point scale, but it's but I'm on the Letterboxd thing. So 4 stars for me is like, yeah, that's a good movie, great movie. I might have minor quibbles, but I'm like, that is a solid, great movie. Can depend on that. 3.5 is like, that's a good movie. I have some queries and reservations, but ultimately, like, yeah, like Bike Riders for me was like, that's a 3.5. I think it could have been a 3, but I'm like, no, 3.5 should have been a 4. But anyway, 3-star is like, I can take it or leave it. It's like, I recognize there is good in this film, or at least this film might offer people some good stuff, but equally, some stuff holds me back, but I don't feel strongly about it to mark it down even lower. So 3 stars kind of in the middle. 2.5 stars is no thank you. It's a polite, this wasn't for me. But I recognize that it might be for other people, so I'm not marking it down extreme. I'll probably give Kinds of Kindness a 2.5, right? Yeah. Okay. 2 stars is not no thank you. 2 stars is just no. No. I don't like this, and I'm not being polite about it because I think there's things in this film that don't work and are problematic. And anything below that is like shite.
Yeah, so I totally think everything you said is great and fine. It makes total sense. But like, for example, your 3-star thing is like, it's okay, but I have some things. But you might you might feel 3 stars about something, and it's like, this is really good. But what the hell happened to the end?
Well, you can write. I always try and that's the thing. So with Letterboxd, I always try and substantiate my rating with text underneath it.
And we can't ever say that 5 stars or 10 out of 10 is perfect. So I can say to you, I have said on this show, that's 10 out of 10. And I just mean like it's got everything. It's good to go.
It's banging.
I mean, like you got to go do it. I don't mean it's perfect. Anyway, we've gone on for quite a long time about review scores. We won't be adding a review scale to Pulp Kitchen anytime soon.
That was the emails for this week, and thank you very much for sending this in as ever. We really, really appreciate it.
So sorry, the reason why a lot of review sites do include review scores is because on aggregate sites, they get included into Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, and they get clicks to their website, whereas if you don't have one, you do not get included in that. So it's financially beneficial for websites to do so. Sorry, you were saying?
No, just that James is absolutely right. That brings us to the end of the email section today. Thank you for sending those in. We always love to hear from you, and do continue to do so. And just remember, if you are a VIP or a producer level on the Patreon, you get priority access for your emails too. Please tuck away your tray table and make sure the overhead compartments are closed. And now we'll be going into the games. James, shall we have another round of the sound game?
Let's do it.
James, as ever, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
And this week we have another round of the sound game.
Love it.
As ever, guys, I'm going to play a little snippet from a movie, 3 seconds, maximum 10, and James has to guess what movie it is from. Now, we've had a couple of comments on the TikTok when we put this out that they are sometimes a little bit too easy. Sometimes they're too dialogue heavy. So I've tried to include a few more abstract ones to entertain that. But James, I recognize it is hard, even when I include dialogue, because you're pulling out thin air, but it's all part of the fun.
Let's just get 100,000 views on TikTok. You know what I mean? Also, I'm aware it's been me 3 episodes in a row.
Yes.
And I think it's just because we had to flip it because of organizational things, and I just didn't have the time.
That's fine.
But George will be on the hot seat next week.
So, as ever, play along at home, guys. I'd love you to listen in and tell us what movie is playing from the sound. James, are you ready for your first sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound.
You didn't call just to apologize, did you?
What do you mean?
You have no one else to call.
Oh, that is the unmistakable voice of Tom Hanks.
Unmistakable.
In the wonderful scene in Catch Me If You Can,
Yes.
when it is Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
That's right, Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, and Frank Abagnale calls up, I can't remember the...
Carl Hanratty.
Carl Hanratty.
Yeah.
And
Leo
they just end
calls
up
Tom Hanks,
chatting, and they
basically.
realise they're basically the only people in each other's lives.
Yeah.
Great scene.
He's trying to be all mysterious, Leo, and he says, like, well, I really have to go now. And then that's when Tom Hanks, he says, you really...
For a second... because it's Tom Hanks immediately, I thought it might have been Tom Hanks talking to Wilson in Castaway.
Oh,
like
let's
at the
just hear that again.
I almost was like, but then the music took me to Spielberg,
fair
and
enough,
then the copy.
Very good. Very good.
yeah.
I don't need to play
Do you
that
know what I
again.
mean? Almost.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
manic laughter. He
Like,
could have been crazier. Yeah.
Fire!
Yeah.
Well done, James, in getting that straight away. Are you ready for your next sound?
I am.
Guess the movie from the sound.
However, after a 3-day search, Webb's body has yet to be found.
Now, I was just going to play you the sting, but I thought, no, I'll be fair. I'll give you a little bit before.
So it's the song from Moby.
Yes.
And is it the Bourne Identity or Supremacy?
I would accept any Bourne
Any
answer
Bourne,
because it's used at the end of any Bourne film. But that specific clip is from the end of the Bourne Ultimatum. The Moby track you're thinking of is Extreme Ways, which is a real banger.
Song. Great song. And it's that intro for the song is not just what plays out Bourne films. It's also like the, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne sound. It has a double use.
It's the little twist. It's almost, it kind of like reminds you of like 1960s sort of spy sting at the end of the episode.
Does.
Wait, he actually got away.
It's like Mission Impossible.
It is. Yes.
Ringing,
Random
panic.
that they took a Moby track and basically made it that. But
Yeah.
one more time because it's so iconic.
However, after a 3-day search, Webb's body has yet to be found.
And it's a close-up of Julia Stiles' face.
Yeah.
And she's hearing this report and she just smirks.
And
as
he's
soon as
swimming.
yeah.
And is Webb what they revealed to be Jason Bourne's real name?
I
It's
can't
like
remember.
Mark
I
Webb.
genuinely, I can't remember.
He had a really boring name.
It's a good. I don't want to talk about it too much in case we spoil it, but like that doesn't spoil the ending of the Bourne Ultimatum.
No,
I also don't. I've not seen Jason Bourne, the fourth one. You don't need to watch that.
No.
The good trilogy. We're talking
Really good
about
trilogy.
best movies of the
And
noughties at some
we
point.
talked about this before, but I think it changed. Casino Royale, such a reaction to Jason Bourne,
Yeah.
really sort of changed shaky cam.
Yeah.
And then got great Brian Cox in that Bourne Ultimatum.
Yes, you. No, isn't he in
think he's-
Supremacy? I thought it's
he's
David
in
Strathairn who's the villain or the CIA, and it's like Albert.
I thought Brian Cox was the big boss.
Oh, it's been a
Someone-
while. I could
Bourne
easily
fans.
watch all three. I think they're great. So
And
Doug Liman
you know,
did the
forgotten
first
film,
one.
The Bourne Legacy with
Oh,
Jeremy Renner. That's
Yeah.
forgotten.
Wow, yeah, that is. There we go. So many forgotten
Yeah.
gems, guys.
Anyway.
Okay, are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
So I've split this. I'm going to play you the hard version first because I don't think
Okay.
you'll get it,
Okay.
and then I'll play you the easy version, which I'm certain you will get.
Okay. All right.
James, are you ready for your next sound?
Yeah.
Guess the movie from the sound.
I used to know a girl. She had a dozen guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
Do you recognize it?
Yeah. Have I seen this film recently?
I don't think so. You've definitely seen it. You're definitely aware of it.
Can I hear it one more time, please?
The hard one? You want
The hard one.
I used to know a girl. She had a dozen guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
It's not Licorice Pizza.
No.
Shit. Okay, play me the easy one now.
Okay, I'm going to play
Is
the
it an extended version of it?
Yeah, so the clip then continues with this last 3 seconds.
all right.
So I've now included the 3 seconds. So now with easy mode activated, I'm
Yeah.
going to play you the easy version.
Okay.
I used to know a girl. She had a dozen guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah. So James, what is it?
It's The Room.
Yes.
Yeah. It's The Room. I really wasn't thinking of The Room.
No,
I was thinking like really intense, dark.
Because that's the irony. He tells the story about this woman getting beaten up. He's like, oh, what a story,
I was
Mark.
like, that voice is so familiar.
Yeah.
I was on the complete opposite end of the genre there. Very good. Love it.
Very good. There you go. So that was Tommy Wiseau in The Room. James, you are at the moment, you've got 3 for 3. Well
Sure,
done.
yeah.
Are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
James, guess the movie from the sound. And it goes on like that for some time.
It's the opening of Saving Private Ryan.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the
Yeah.
unmistakable bit where they open the door of the ramp, of the beach landing equipment.
The
and
ramp I
goes
think
down.
gave it
and
to me,
it's
and the bullets were,
it's-
yeah.
That's when I was thinking of movie sounds and the sound of the bullet whizzing past, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ricocheted.
just the awful carnage that ensues on
A
our
scene
beach.
that I don't think you ever forget when you watch it.
Yeah.
It's always burnt into your mind
Yeah.
when someone says Saving Private Ryan. It literally is that sound.
And that bit I included just before is the men just
whistle.
and also just like vomiting on the boat and just
Dripping water.
completely bricking it about what's about to happen.
Yeah, bringing troops to war in the most medieval way, almost like.
And that's the thing about like World War II that's so interesting. Is like it is thankfully one of the last few major conflicts in which like they just threw men at it.
It's like cutting back to ancient Greece where men were hauled on ships onto the shore to jump off and raid, I don't know, Greek history stuff. Troy.
Thermopylae.
Yeah, all that. 300.
Oh, the fall of Thrace. Yes,
Yeah,
I remember. James, well done. You're doing well today.
Nice.
Are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
This is a bit more of an abstract one.
Okay.
Listen closely.
Okay.
Lots of shuffling, lots of rustling, lots of buckles, lots of belts, and putting something down. Okay, just one more time, please.
Okay.
Is that the voice of Matt Damon?
It is.
Okay.
Well done in getting that. Very
It's
good.
the voice of Matt Damon. And we can't be Jason Bourne because we just...
Not Jason Bourne.
Okay. It's the voice of Matt Damon. It's not Talented Mr. Ripley. No. Hold on. Okay, so it's Matt Damon.
I thought if you get Matt Damon, I thought you'd remember this. I think it's a great movie with lots of great moments, but I think this is a famous moment.
It's not We Bought a Zoo.
It's definitely not.
Sorry, can I listen to it one more time?
It's not The Great Wall either. Okay. Okay, listen closely.
Okay.
Is he getting shot or is he shooting someone?
I'm going to try and not confirm or deny either of that, just to keep it relatively spoiler-free.
Damon.
Okay, James, I think I'm going to have to...
I think I don't have it.
That is the ending of The Departed, where somebody shoots somebody in the face, and it's a memorable thing because it's such a domestic thing. Someone comes home, opens the door, sees the person with the gun, and goes,
The ending of The Departed really delivers.
well, yeah.
It's a big film with so many different parts moving at the same speed, and I just think the ending of Departed is just brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's
You could've
fantastic.
got that. Yeah, great film, great scene. Like that sound. I love that because I should have got that.
No problem.
And it's good.
Okay, you got two
It's
more.
just a bit crazy. Just okay. I'm like Matt Damon.
Yeah, but you got okay. You can hear it. I love it.
Yeah, resigned.
Two more. You ready?
Love it.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Fire, burning, music, fire. I don't know if this is it. Is it Call Me By Your Name?
Yes, well done. Yeah, I thought you'd get it. Well done.
It's the music
Yes.
coming in. I don't know what the name of the song is, but
It's,
it's a beautiful song.
The song is called, it's by Sufjan Stevens, it's called Visions of Gideon.
And it's just Chalamet just leaning,
Yeah,
on
leaning
this
in the fire
little thing,
as the
just
tear.
looking
Yeah, I
into
know,
the-
looking terrible, thinking about the warmth of summer. Now he's in winter, now he doesn't have it. Thinking about the phone call he's just had with Oliver.
You know why I like that scene as emotional closer for that film? It's show don't tell. Everything of that film, everything that needed to be said in that film was said, and everything that needed to be shown was shown, and all you need to see is what it meant to Elio.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm really glad you got that straight
that.
away. Well
Love
done.
it.
And lastly, James, are you ready for your final sound? Now you should get this. I think, but we'll talk about it. But
Okay.
anyway,
All right.
guess the movie from the sound.
She came with me. She's with me.
I carried a watermelon.
Okay. Just one more time. I didn't get the text.
She came with me. She's with me.
I carried a watermelon.
Dirty Dancing.
Yes, well done. And I put that in there because I thought, okay, it's a film you have seen
at Christmas.
only once, but recently.
Yes.
Very famous line, my favorite line. I carried a watermelon.
Carried a watermelon.
And then she's like, she mouths it to herself. She's like, I carried a watermelon.
Fantastic. She walks up to that.
Yeah,
bar
that party,
scene.
the
It's one of my
staff
favourite
party.
scenes.
It's
Brilliant.
great. And
Brilliant.
Swayze sort of looks so like, because he sees her as cookie cutter, middle class, you know, with the families out there. What's she doing here? This is hot. This is sexy. This is dirty dancing, baby.
Brilliant.
Great stuff. Yeah,
Love
well
it.
done. You did really well today,
Fantastic.
James.
Yeah,
I'm
I've
very
done good.
happy.
Is that it?
That's it. That concludes our sound game for today.
Guys, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Don't forget, we post new episodes of Pulp Kitchen every single Wednesday.
And before I even say to you to continue to like and subscribe and follow us on Patreon, the big thing this week is look out for those pub quiz tickets.
Next week, pub quiz.
Tickets go live on Monday for Patreon
Let's
members.
just say the date, actually, because people could be listening
1st of July, Monday, 1st of July.
If you're a Patreon
member,
get on the Patreon if you want to make
48
sure your
hours
tickets are there.
priority access. And then from Wednesday, 3rd of July, tickets will go on sale for general release. So keep an eye out for all of that. And in the meantime, thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon. We really appreciate it. To our producers, Aidan and Finn.
Thank you very much.
And to everyone who supports us in general on social media. Keep liking our stuff, keep subscribing, keep sharing. If you do see any random rogue accounts purporting to be Pulp Kitchen, please be very wary of that. We've had a little bit of an issue with certain accounts purporting to be us, so just be alive to that.
Taken our picture and posted a bunch of our stuff, and a fan of the show said they were DMing them. So please, we're very unlikely to DM you.
It's unlikely, we'll just DM you random. That's not how we work.
And then we'd probably reply, but we're not going to ask you for things.
No.
It'll be on we'd ask you for stuff on an Instagram story, and please comment. So
yeah. So be wary to that. But other than that, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate you listening to us, and continue to have a wonderful, great week.
Go and check out Double Take if you haven't.
Yes.
We're really enjoying this exclusive show.
Yes.
It's just a little bit different. We're not here. We're sat somewhere else. I'm really liking the format and just like getting into films together in a very different way.
Yeah.
So we're really enjoying that. Go and check it out if you haven't already.
Other than that, enjoy your summers, guys, and see you next week.
Bye. Guys.